Trust we had a great day. So the conversation is a simple one. It's a very simple conversation because I think yesterday I stumbled on a conversation on Twitter, though I really did not comment. I did more of a listening in rather than commenting. Just, listening to other people's thoughts. And after that, I heard a lot of people's comments and all. And I feel Nigerian farmers, to a large extent, we still do not understand the concept of hunger to a large extent. We still do not understand the concept of hunger and food. We still have not come to grasp with the reality that hunger is location specific. Food can come from anywhere. And I think we've still not gotten used to that reality. We've still not come to terms with that reality because, I mean, a lot of people still do not see the fact that there was a time I had a conversation where I said, as farmers, focus on your profits, focus on your profits, focus on what makes you profitable. Because you see, at the end of the day, food is national security first. Food is about national security. Food is about global trade. It's about national security. Have you given a thought to the fact that despite all of the happenings, despite all of the fightings between Ukraine and what's their name, Russia, there is that unsigned agreement where nobody is destroying food reserves for the world. So you may hear that, oh, they destroyed Ukraine's this, Ukraine's that, Ukraine's that. But some months ago, remember that the same Ukraine that is going through a lot was still the Ukraine that sent Nigeria as a nation some fertilizers for free. Because you see, fertilizer is not about whether we are fighting or not. This is about a global food security. We can destroy your national food security so that we make you vulnerable, but we cannot throw the whole world into chaos just because we are fighting. And a lot of farmers still have not come to grasp with this reality that you need to put your business first. You need to think about your business first. You need to put your business first. You need to think about your business. Like, you need to actually think about your business. I know I had a conversation where I talked about the fact that, are you growing for food security or national security? I think I had that conversation with us a while back. Are you growing for food security or national security? Hey, Mr. Sonny, good evening, sir. Mr. Pierre Odoka, good evening. Mr. Hussein, good evening. I had this conversation with us a while back where I said, are you growing for national security or food security? And I said, you see, crops that are grown for national security are not necessarily profitable. I said, they are not necessarily profitable, but you get subsidy to grow them. And the only reason as a farmer you would want to grow them is because there are subsidies. And if there are subsidies, there is a reason to grow, because even if on its own it would not have been profitable, there is now a succor why you should grow it. And if you remember, two of the major crops I used as an example that day were rice and maize. Rice and maize. Those were the major crops I used as examples. And I said, rice and maize for Nigeria as a nation, these are not profitable crops, but they are crops suddenly needed for national security. because a lot of our food system depends heavily on those two. I said it. And I think last week or last 2 weeks, I saw a publication. Can I remember? Let me check if I can find it. There was a publication by one of the news media that farmers dump rice and maize growing in Nigeria, something like that. Let me see if I can. Okay, that was Business Day. It was Business Day that carried it. Business Day carried that news that farmers are dropping rice and maize. Farmers are dropping rice. A lot of people try tagging me to say, hey, Farmer Sam, see what you said is coming to pass and all of that. But I didn't want to comment because, again, I know that a lot of farmers are like, why would I be saying they should drop rice and maize? Why now? Why would I say that? Blah, 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 and all of that. But I understood that they didn't understand where I was coming from. I know they didn't understand it. They didn't get it properly, which is fine. People get to learn at different paces. They get to understand that what is happening internationally. Hey, Tennyson, good evening. And I said that back then. If you follow in the news, you see, because it is always very, very sad when I see farmers who are not conversant with global news. It is sad when I see farmers who are not conversant with global news, because if you follow global news, you would understand that you don't need to do anything wrong in Nigeria for what is happening in Europe to determine the reality of Nigeria's agriculture. You don't need to do anything wrong. I know I saw some people ranting on Twitter and people tagged me. I really didn't want to answer because I just figured, Baba, you are ignorant. If you had taken time to read, or if you have even taken time to follow some of the, in quote, cryptic posts I tried to make for you to understand, you will not be in these issues that you are right now. But I mean, we are here. I know I saw somebody that tagged me. I was like, hey, why would federal government open, what's the word, maize importation, this importation into Nigeria, and blah, blah, blah. And in my mind, I'm thinking, are you following what is happening in the world, or are you carried away by what is happening? Are you carried away by what is happening with you alone? Hey, good morning, good evening, ma. Food safety, good evening. Sorry. Please, what's the issue that you're looking for electrician?
Yes, sir. There's a wire packing at the gate, sir.
Operations. Operations. Anybody at the staff lodge? Legion, one of you can go use your bike, go to the staff lodge to check up on any of them so they can come switch off and check. So sorry about that. So it's about understanding that, thank you so much, thank you. It's about understanding that the world is global. The world is global. And if you have been following what is happening in the global trade, you will know that right now in the US, they have a whole lot of, what's the word? Same to you, Madam Noyen, violent. Right now in the world, America farmers are screaming and shouting. Two things has happened to American farmers at the same time. Because of, if you are, again, I can't overstate this enough. As a farmer, whatever you're doing in Nigeria is affected globally. There are things happening globally that can impact what you do locally. So you cannot just say, I'm a farmer, you don't watch news, you don't read newspapers, you don't follow any agricultural bulletin, you are just about local news, you are following local things, and you are wondering why things are happening. No. Back to what I was saying. If you've been following global news, you will know that first things first, President Donald Trump of America removed a lot of the subsidies that farmers enjoy. A lot of them. They get subsidies before to grow things like maize, to grow things like, what is it called? On a large scale, on a mega scale. And these things now has been removed. And if that subsidy has been removed, automatically, it means that their system of farming needs to change to align with their new reality. So they can even take Chinelo so that they can go and switch off while they are looking for them. Now, first you get to realize that means there is already a shift, a change. Then for the first time, they have produced so much wheat. They have produced so much wheat, so much maize, that right now, the market price for buying wheat is cheaper than their cost of production. Their market price for wheat is cheaper than their cost of production. They have so much maize. If you follow news, you would hear that in places like Kansas, they are bringing out their cars so that they have where to store maize, because their, what's it called, silos and all, their warehouses are filled up to the brim. The world is not, people are not willing to buy their maize because their maize are so expensive. So expensive because if they sell based on the prevailing market price, they will be running at a loss. It would not have mattered if they had subsidy to depend on. Most of the people that used to trade with them are instead moving to Canada to buy because those prices are more favorable. Just this year, over another $1 billion was released to subsidize the Canadian farmers. Now, as a farmer in Nigeria, you then need to ask yourself, do you have subsidy to produce those things? If the answer is no, why are you trying to produce and compete with people who are producing with subsidy? Dear farmer, why are you trying to compete? Because again, hunger is local, but food is global. Somebody is shouting, oh, why will they open our borders? Why will they do this? Why will they do that? Don't they know that they will destroy our this? But you see, there are international relationships that supersede your personal losses as smallholder farmers. That they will just look at it and say, no, we need to buy. There are trade agreements that supersede your personal losses as a farmer. Do I think tomorrow I am doing shortcut Ewedu? Will tomorrow federal government say we are trying to open the border to bring in Ewedu? No, because those governments have no reason to provide subsidy for such crops there. So again, you see, as a farmer, you always need to put in mind this thing that I am producing. Is this famous? Is this a global food? If it is a global food, are you producing to compete globally, even if you are going to sell locally? Am I producing to compete globally? Because if my production cannot compete globally, I can just wake up tomorrow and the government has enacted a law because of international relationships. And with that, they will have to sell or import or open our borders just to ensure there is peace. Go back and if you check the last tweet I made, I talked about the fact that right now, Canada is selling out. Before now, is it Kansas? No, Texas, US, used to be like the headquarters of meats in the US. They produce over 25% of the meat consumed in the US. But as at today, their ability to sell their meat has dropped drastically. And the two major reasons why their meat dropped drastically is they did not have halal certification. Yes, you heard me. They did not have halal certification. Two, right now, their ESG is very, very low. Hey, Voice of the Farmers, good evening, sir. What is ESG? The E stands for what is the environmental footprint of the animals that you are raising. Canada has an upper hand in that. S stands for social. What is your social relationship? What is your social relationship? What is the social relationship so that you are able to trade easily with your neighboring countries? Again, we cannot just be farmers who are not intentional about reading, who are not intentional about what is happening globally. If you've been following what is happening globally, you will know that of recent, Canada for the first time sent their crude, not crude actually, sent LNG, this liquefied natural gas. They sent LNG to Asia for the first time without passing through American pipes. They compressed it, froze it, and moved it by sea. And right now, just because of that, Canada is making about $8 billion daily by cutting out the US. And all of this started because President Donald Trump threatened Canada with a 10 or 15% tariff. And they said they were going to retaliate with 30-35% tariff. But when they looked at what is it that we are trading with each other, Canada realized we are going to make way more losses because our LNG gases that goes to our major customers needs to pass through your pipe, which means because it is passing through your pipe, for us, the money we are going to be making, 10% comes to you for doing nothing, just for having pipes. So you are saying, oh, why would they open, Uncle Jesse, good evening, sir. Why would they open the border and bring in maize and bring in that? Because there is a trade partner that we have that has so much maize that needs to move it somewhere. And there are too many things that we are dependent on them for that we will not have any option than to accept. Go back and check the story. I don't know if you've heard of this story. For some of us, if you've heard of this story, when there was a time the US and Mexico had an issue around poultry. What was the issue between US and Mexico poultry issues? The issue was, the US consumes a lot of poultry, a lot of birds. So they were saying they realized that their citizens eat more of the lap and all of chicken. But the bum and the fingers, the fingernails, the legs, the bum and the head is not what they consume a lot. And they were discussing with Mexico that they want them to agree that they will be shipping bum and all of chicken to them. Let me see if I can find the news so I will quote it correctly. So I'm not paraphrasing. America versus trade war on chicken bum. This is bum they call it. So I just say it's cheddar bum they call them. Am I on Google? No. And it was a crazy one. This was not 2025. This is the latest, so I'm looking for the older version. And it was a crazy one. Why am I giving lots and lots of these examples? As a farmer, what you are growing, is it something that you have an advantage in? If not, do you have an hedge? Should it backfire, do you have an hedge? We cannot just wake up and be complaining, oh, why did they do this? Why did they do this? You need to understand that, yes, our leaders at the top, is not that they don't care about you, they don't care about me, but there are things that is above their pay grade. They have to accept because of international relationships. There are things they need to accept. There are things they need to align with. There are things that they know it is not the best, but they cannot say no to. Because saying no would be worse than accepting the bad offer on the table. So as a farmer, look at what you grow. Then as a nation generally, I think we need to start asking ourselves some real honest pertinent questions. We need to start having some real honest conversations. Do we really want to be a sovereign nation that is food secure? Do we really want it? We need to ask ourselves. And I say that because you see, if you ask the older generation, they will tell you that there was a time in Nigeria where rice was the food that we ate only on Christmas Day, on Sunday, during festivity. Rice was not an everyday food. Ask them, they will tell you. They will tell you that there was a time when chicken was not an everyday food. Instead, we were dependent on what was locally available. Bush meat was a norm. Beef, goat, these things were the norm. We ate cassava in form of gari, akpu, fufu, different form. We had yam eaten in different forms. These were our staple food. These were the things we consumed the most. But somebody somewhere whose nation has a capacity to produce rice a lot, there was a trade agreement that they systematically, our regular food got replaced. It first started with the conversation around, oh, don't you know that these are local food? So they called our food local. And because it is called local, just like when you go to school, it becomes a crime to speak your local language because it is called vernacular, so you get beaten. That has been ingrained in us that our local food is not for the two stables. Our local food is not for the rich. Our local food is not for the creme de la creme. Suddenly, the imported foods that were not natural to us became our everyday food. Mistake number one, that our local food became like the alien foods. Over time. And you see, these things are done subtly. If you go to the US today, because I want us to say, I'm trying to just give a background, it's not like, I don't know this is a teaching. If you go to the US today, study the US, you will notice that one of the most expensive meal you can eat in the US is sushi. Let me check how much is sushi. You are seeing sushi of 162,000 naira. Sushi, oh. Let me see US. And the question is, what is sushi? $250 and above for a sushi. What is sushi? Sushi is just fish. Origin. So, because I want us to take this thing step by step. Sushi is a food that is from Japan originally. All these Asian food. Now, my question then becomes, if you notice, how did sushi become a global food that is taken as high reference food? How did sushi get that, what's the word I'm looking for? Get that, looking for the right word to use. How did sushi get valued that much? Why is sushi valued that big? Because the countries where sushi came from, Japan and other Asian countries, pushed it like something that is geng. They gave it a platform to ride on. They gave it a platform. Most of you have heard of this car called Lexus. I am sure of that. You've heard of the car called Lexus, a Toyota car called Lexus. What is the meaning of Lexus? What is the meaning of that Lexus? Lexus is Lexus. What is the Lexus? What does it mean? Lexus is an acronym that means L is luxury, EX is export, US is USA. Luxury cars that are exported to the USA. Lexus. What am I trying to say? These were not things that were gang in their home country. But these nations tried to package it to be the best thing after God. But here in Nigeria, we have downgraded our own meals. We have made them look like nothing. If we are going to come out of this whole being subservient to other nations where they determine what we eat, whenever they have too much food, they throw it to us and dump it on us, and we have no option than to accept because of trade agreements and all of that. And before you know what is happening, the farmers that are here begins to cry and scream, and they're like, oh, things are bad, and things like that. If we are going to change that narrative, if we are going to work on ensuring that this does not continue to happen, as a nation, we need to realize we need to go back to our local foods. Nigerians, we produce over, we are the highest producer of cassava in the world. We are the highest producer of, what's the name? Of, yam in the world. Think about it. Nigeria is the highest producer of cassava and yam. Don't you think our food, our everyday food, should have cassava and yam inside? Think about it. If we are the highest producer of cassava and yam in the world, then every meal that we eat should have either cassava or yam. We should either be eating cassava or yam. We should start thinking of how to develop our cassava and yam. From alcohol, cassava or yam. Pasta, cassava or yam. Flour, cassava or yam. Everything should have. If you go to a place like Kenya, for example, there is a part of Kenya where they eat a lot of potatoes. Oh Lord, you order rice, potato go there inside. Everything, they find a way to put potato. They make soup, there is a lump of potato thrown inside. Wash out potato. So, if we are going to actually be food secure as a nation, we need to start thinking, how can we develop our own indigenous foods, cassava and yam. Cassava and yam. That we can use it to make different foods. And why am I saying Nigerians need to come together? Because you see, this process will be painful as a nation. The process will be painful. Why will the process be painful as a nation? In the process of our food scientists trying to develop food, they will get some food right, they will get some food wrong, some will be yuck, some will be like, ew, why is this food? And some will be great. But it will be our food that we are developing. Then we would then need to now go to the laboratory and start figuring out, how do we develop our yam and cassava so that they are not taking 9 months to a year to be ready? How do we reduce it to 8 months, to 7 months, to 6 months, to 5 months, to 4 months, to 3 months, to even 2 months if possible? Why not? This is how we need to start thinking. Because think about it, if you look at our traditional chicken, our traditional fowl, our chickens were not supposed to be ready in 2 months. Today, if you go and buy all these broilers, in 6 weeks, broiler done ready. Why? The white man sat down and thought about it. This is one of the cheapest or fastest source of protein. We cannot be waiting 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months before it is ready. What can we do so that these chickens can produce very fast? I know that there was a Professor Adebambo, Professor Mrs. Adebambo of Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, that worked on local chicken. But that project was not supported, that by now we will be able to say, oh, this is our own chicken, tiwa ni tiwa. This is our own chicken, and then use that chicken, and then be looking for a way to make it 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Chicken is ready. Yam, you do it the system to the extent that in 2 months, yam is ready. 3 months, yam is ready. cassava is ready in 3 months. That if it needs to have different types of cassava styles, the one for fufu, the one for pasta, the one for flour, this is how we will develop our food, because we are the highest producers of these things. That by the time we develop it, we are not dependent on third-party nations for our food security. So, regardless of whether a farmer in Kafanchan or Chakanchan overproduce, we are not forced to take the brunt of it as a nation, because our food system will not be dependent on that. Will not be dependent, because today you can practically be using 30k to produce a bag of rice. If tomorrow the rice is too much in one of those countries that we depend on, they will put out, they'll just tell the country, you know what our agreement is, oh yeah, the rice needs to move into your country, and the rice will come and they flood the market with rice of 20k. The farmers that took loan to get rice at 30k all run at a loss. They cannot pay back, they get the bad name, they get insulted, and it feels like nothing is working. Just because we have not chosen to develop our food system. When are we going to have real parties where you have the cream de la cream and what they are sharing is ewagoy? What they are sharing is dodokire. What they are sharing is kunu. What they are sharing is our local food only. No rice, no pasta, nothing. No all those. It is abacha, no salads. Our local food. When are we going to have a system where our local food goes back to being the norm? And rice looks like the strange thing when we see it, like, you're eating rice, ew. We come to yours, you're eating spaghetti, ew. Why? What happened? Ew, ew, ew. But instead, we see you eating pasta made from rice called casquetti or whatever. So we need from cassava. Yameti because it's from yam. And we start developing our own food systems. We cannot be the highest in cassava production and yam production in the world, and 80% of our food that we eat daily is not dominated by those foods. That we have not developed a system to make soap cheap. That we've not done that. It is still a big thing of shame. It is still a big thing of shame. My own conversation today was just to say, farmers, until we are ready as a country, this is not just government, that citizens, everybody is willing to say, yes, let us bite the hard rock. Let us go through the process to develop our food system. Then focus on what makes you profit. Don't focus on things that are global. Don't focus on things that have global fight, which means you don't need to do wrong for you to run at a loss. Okay, thank you for listening. Good evening. I don't know if there is any question. Like I said, it was just to rant. It was just to rant. It was not really like to do teaching. It was just to rant and say, dear farmers, we need to know how to be accountable. Any question? I think there's any question, you can type it. Somebody is saying you want to be part of AA. Please just apply. Be hopeful that you would get admission. Be hopeful you will get admission. Fingers crossed. That was on YouTube. Any other question? Dear farmers, you need to take charge of your own life by yourself. If you need to use Akinlade, we need to take charge of our own life. We need to take charge. That's all I'm just trying to say. You need to take charge. Every nation is doing what is best for them. Every nation is doing what is best for them and what is best for their farmers. But what is best for them and what is best for their farmers is not just dependent on whether your country likes you. It's also dependent on who has the power when it comes to negotiating. Who has the upper hand when it comes to negotiating. And when you realize that in the global trade, we do not have the upper hand, then it's our job, it's our own job as farmers to start thinking, how do we protect ourselves by ourselves? And that is why I'm saying, think what will give you profits. Don't just do the whole, It's not patriotism yet, it's about survival. It's about survival. Okay, I think there are no questions. Thank you for joining. Hey, Madam Stephanie, good evening, ma'am. Hi, Zogachooks. What do farmers do to mitigate loss when foreign produce floods the market? There is nothing you will do because you chose what can flood. See, I am not going to sugarcoat it. There is nothing you can do. There is nothing you can do because if they flood, except you can store it and wait till that time passes. Hopefully, you don't need to depend on the money of what you stored. As a maize farmer, what can we do to break even or make profit with the look of things now that we have imported maize in the country? I have said it in the past. If you followed my classes for a while, there was a time I said, stop producing maize and rice if you are not given subsidy to produce it. So if you still went ahead and produced it, well, be patient. Find a way to store your maize and be hopeful that at some point it is going to be expensive again so that you can compete. So it's just be hopeful. There is no sugar coating. I don't think Nigeria is rich enough right now to say, hey, all of you that produce maize already come, let us give you subsidy or let us buy it off you. I don't think so. Or thank God for what's the name? Produce for Lagos by Lagos State. I don't know if they are ready to start off taking maize yet. If yes, hopefully the price favors you. You can take it to them since they would also be storing. Maybe. I know Ekiti State also have a buyback scheme, but I'm not sure how it works. But if you are close to those states, maybe those are things you can explore to see how it works. To see how it works out, hopefully. What is your advice regarding grape farming in southwest Nigeria? And what I would say about that is simple. If you're looking at growing grape in the southwest, can check out. I mean, I've not done grapes in southwest, so I can't say. But look at, can grapes do well naturally in the southwest? Ask yourself. Check out their growing conditions. If they will do well here, and I know there is a market for grape in the southwest, then fine. If they will not do well here, then why are you trying to grow them? Because again, you are a farmer, not a researcher. You are not the one that should try to research whether it will work. If there is no empirical proof that it will work, if you cannot get land in the north, grow what we grow here. Look for them to buy grape from in the north and sell it in the south. It's that simple. You are not a researcher. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Daddy Omogi. Thank you, Mr. Israel. Hope I answered your question. Any other one? Any other one? Okay, thank you for joining. Have a great night, Sarge and Mars.